Yo, what up everybody, it's boy Goose, and welcome to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the Steven Universe custom Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Steven Universe is about a young boy discovering his powers while living with magical gems, exploring identity, love, and growth. As a reminder, this deck is fan-made. The card art and franchise belong to their respective artists. The focus of the deck is to summon Steven Universe and his crystal gems in order to contact fuse with them. Because the show barely has multiple fusions out at once, the deck is formed to have only one fusion on the field at a time unless something keeps them on the field. Another thing is that fusion monsters return to the deck during the end phase, just like the Neo's fusions when they return to the extra deck. Overall, the card references parts of the show and its connection to Steven. Few things to note is that most of the monsters are rock type to reference the show, and characters being crystal gems. Some of the card effects will revolve around normal summoning another monster, specifically a monster in which the character has ties to. Lastly, the part of the deck will mainly focus on the core 4 and the characters in the early episodes of the series. With all that being said, let's go to the cards. Starting off with our main monster, Steven Universe. Now when this card is normal summoned, you can add one card that mentions a crystal gem monster from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, you can reveal one crystal gem monster in your extra deck, but you summon one monster that's listed on that card as material from your hand or graveyard. This card is always treated as a crystal gem monster. This card can't be targeted by card effects while you have 4 crystal gem monsters on the field. Next up is Crystal Gem Pearl. Now when this card is normal summoned, you can add Crystal Gem Amethyst from your deck to your hand. When this card is specially summoned, you can specially summon Crystal Gem Garnet from your graveyard. You can discard this card, add Crystal Gem Temple or Steven Universe from your deck to your hand. Next, we have Crystal Gem Amethyst. Now when this card is normal summoned, add Crystal Gem Pearl from your deck to your hand. When this card is specially summoned, you can specially summon Crystal Gem Garnet from your graveyard. You can discard this card, add Crystal Gem Temple or Steven Universe from your deck to your hand. One half of our fusion monster Garnet is Ruby. When this card is normal summoned, special summon Sapphire from your hand or deck. When this card is special summoned, you can special summon Sapphire from your graveyard. You can activate each effect once per turn. If Sapphire would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy this card instead. This card is treated as a crystal gem monster while on the field or graveyard, while Sapphire is also on the field or graveyard. Next up is the second half of Garnet, it's Sapphire. When this card is normal summoned, special summon Ruby from your hand or deck. When this card is special summoned, you can special summon Ruby from your graveyard. You can activate each effect once per turn. While this card is on the field, Ruby cannot be targeted by card effects. This card is treated as a crystal gem monster while on the field or graveyard, while Ruby is also on the field or graveyard. Up next is Crystal Gem Obsidian. Now while this card is kind of the boss monster of the deck because it's a fusion between the previous monsters, this card has a special summoning ability which is referenced to the Familiar Possessed archetype. Now some of these cards from the Familiar Possessed archetype have a special ability that you could special summon them from the deck by attributing specific monsters. So I figured why not have it for this card? So you could summon this card from the deck by sending Crystal Gem Pearl, Garnet, Amethyst, and Steven Universe on the field to the graveyard and cannot be summoned by other ways. This card is unaffected by card effects. During the end phase, after this card does battle damage, shuffle this card into the deck and specially summon Crystal Gem Pearl, Garnet, Amethyst, and Steven Universe from your graveyard. You can shuffle this card from your graveyard into the deck and draw one card. Closing out our monsters is the Crystal Gem Lion. Now when this card is normal summoned, Crystal Gem monsters can attack directly this turn. Once per turn, you can special summon this card from the graveyard if Steven Universe is on the field. Steven Universe cannot be destroyed by card effects while this card is on the field. Next up, we have the spell cards. Now, first card we have here is We Are the Crystal Gems. Now, the name comes from the opening song from the series, where it shows our 4 characters in the early stages of the show. As a card effect, you can only activate this card when Steven Universe is on the field. Special summon Crystal Gem Pearl, Garnet, and Amethyst from your hand, deck, or graveyard, or extra deck. You can have special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn. If a Crystal Gem monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. Next up is Crystal Gem Temple, also known as the Crystal Temple. This card is the home base for all the Crystal Gems, and it looks like Obsidian, but it's not really been confirmed. Crystal Gem Fusion monsters are not returned to the extra deck by their own effect. While this card is face up on the field, Crystal Gem monsters gain 500 attack and defense. Your opponent must target Crystal Gem Fusion monsters first for attacks or card effects. Now, if you don't know what the first effect means, that's okay, because once we get to the Fusion monsters, it would all make sense. Next up is Diamond's Judgment. Now this card is a reference to the 4 diamonds of the Steven Universe series. Known to be the strongest of the franchise, when your opponent activates a card effect, you can send 1 crystal gem monster from your deck to the graveyard, negate the effect, and destroy the card. Once per turn, you can banish this card from the graveyard, shuffle 1 crystal gem card from your graveyard into the deck, and draw 1 card. You can only activate Diamond's Judgment once per turn. Now closing out the deck is Crystal Gem Cluster. Now this card is a reference to the cluster of old gems hidden and beneath the earth set by the diamonds. Set to destroy the earth and remove its inhabitants. You can only activate this card while Crystal Gem Temple is on the field. When your opponent attacks the Crystal Gem monster, send the attacking monster to the graveyard. Once per turn while this card is in the graveyard, you can banish this card, send 1 monster your opponent controls to the graveyard. Once per turn, you can activate this card from your hand. Now starting off with our extra deck, we have Crystal Gem Garnet. Now as I mentioned previously with Crystal Gem Temple, Crystal Gem Fusion monsters are similar to Neo Space Fusion monsters where you can contact fuse with them, and when the fuse spells on the field, they get to stay on the field as an option. But just like them, when you have the Crystal Gem Temple on the field, they get to stay on the field as well. Now as a card effect, this card must either be fusion summoned or special summoned by attributing the above cards you control, in which you do not use polymerization. During the end phase, return this card to the extra deck, then special summon the above cards from the graveyard. Now this effect goes for the rest of the fusion monsters of the Crystal Gem archetype. When this card is special summoned, you can activate Crystal Gem Temple from your hand, deck, or graveyard. When this card is special summoned from the graveyard, all monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense. Next up is Crystal Gem Opal. Now this fusion monster is fused with Crystal Gem Pearl and Crystal Gem Amethyst. When this card is special summoned, your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack and defense. Next up is Crystal Gem Segulate. Now this fusion monster is a fusion between Crystal Gem Amethyst and Crystal Gem Garnet. When this card is special summoned, you can destroy 1 spell or trap card on the field. Next up is Crystal Gem Sardonyx. Now Sardonyx is a fusion between Crystal Gem Garnet and Crystal Gem Pearl. With a monster effect, when this card is special summoned, you can destroy 1 card your opponent controls. Now closing out the deck, we have Crystal Gem Alexandrite. Now this is a fusion between Crystal Gem Garnet, Crystal Gem Pearl, and Crystal Gem Amethyst. And its monster effect is simply this card cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. And that does it for this video. Comment down below your favorite card of the deck. If you want me to make more cards from the series, let me know in the comments and I'll consider making them for a future video. Like and subscribe to know when I post my next video. And with that being said, I'm sending positive vibes and kindness to everyone and keep things PG. Positively Goose. Bye guys.